Hello everyone. So what we're going to work on here are warm and cool color cities, and what we're going to learn how to do is we're going to how to use the contrast between warm and cool colors and see how they work together to kind of create this interesting contrast, meaning that they kind of stand out from each other in our artwork. And we're going to use some basic simple techniques. So instead of making just a very simple flat building like we might have done in the younger grades, we're not going to do this, where we make a rectangle and a rectangle and a rectangle like that, because now we're only seeing one face of the building, the front of it. So it's a very flat looking image. What we're going to do is we are going to take it now where we can see two faces of that rectangle. So we're going to start with this, we're going to start with this idea of the arrow. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, I'll make 4 lines. And then I'm going to put like an arrowhead on the top. And what this is this is now going to give us two faces to our building. So this will be one side of the building, this will be the other. So if I draw that line all the way down, I now have two faces, two sides of the building. And I can do that with all of these. And you'll notice that this one is going to overlap. So I might make it just a little bit longer so it doesn't catch up with that line. And you probably want to put maybe another one behind it. But think about also size. So this building is very big. I can see the whole thing. And I'm going to add maybe one more here. It's going to look like way off in the distance. It's going to be the tallest building of all. So maybe I don't even see the actual sides of it. Once we design our building, one of the harder parts is how to add windows. When we're adding flat windows to just one face of the building, it's easy to draw, but the way we draw the windows is we're going to follow the line of the arrowhead. So that would be the side. So you see how they're on the diagonal? There's one window. Oops. And I might make another. And since this is more of an abstract one, we're not worried about making a whole bunch of windows, but you can always make more later by adding the line. So the window sides are going to match the lines of the vertical line of the arrow, and the tops and bottoms are going to match the arrow top. So that's how you're going to get started on your windows. So this would go this way, and there would be my next window. Don't worry so much about how many windows you add, and if it's not perfect, please don't worry about that. The idea is that after we do that, we're going to start by adding a circle. That will symbolize either the sun or the moon, depending if you're going for hot or cool colors. And you're going to repeat. And so you'll notice that I'm going to go all the way around it. And when something gets in its way, like the building, I'm just going to act like it's behind it. So I pick up, pretend I'm continuing and going. Over and continue. Over and continue. So it looks like the background sky. There we go. I'm going to go right to the end because I didn't have a building over here. So that's basically the layout of your design. Let me do it on my paper real quick so you can see the steps again. I'm going to start with the arrow. Here's 1, 2, and I like to make my sizes different. 3, I can always make them longer later. I'm going to put another one here because I kind of like how it looks better when it goes right off the page. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many ever I fit will be okay. So this is going to be my building in the front. This building, I'm going to make it a little longer here just to create a little overlap, make it a little more interesting. I'm going to do the same thing here. Maybe it goes right off the page. I can make it longer. I just don't want these lines matching up because then it's not going to look, it's going to create more of a visual distraction. So I could leave it like this, or I could go in and say, oh, I'm going to add a building way off in the distance. It kind of gets hidden a little behind here and here. And now I'm going to start on my circles. So before I put it here, this time I'll put it here just for some variety. And if you notice on the first sample one, people actually can either color these solid or they could add patterns, but the idea is to make it look like it's going behind, and where would it pick up? Try to do at least 5 concentric circles. Concentric circles are circles that kind of repeat and reverberate. So I'm going to make this go all the way down. Doesn't really matter how perfect it is, as long as it looks like it continues. It would continue here because this is open space. And that's how we begin. So again, for my window, I would follow the line of the arrow, and then I would follow the line of the center. Here's my first one. Follow the line of the arrowhead, the middle line, and then again. So you can do it any way you choose. You could add windows, you could add any other details you want. For us, it's really not today about the how well architecturally they're drawn. You might just want to make your lines look like this, divide them up into spaces, a little more abstract. I'm going to make my buildings kind of look like they're maybe just large windows. It'll just help for me when I'm coloring not to have so many little windows to work around, and rather work with the color. So that was my choice. You can make your own choice about how you do that. I'm just dividing up the space. So now I have to make a decision. Are my city buildings going to be the warm or the cool colors? Is my sky going to be the warm or cool colors? So if I'm choosing a cool color for the sky, let's say I stick with my purples and blues. Let's say I make a center purple. Interesting choice. I can blend colors. So I might lay down some purple and blend it with a little even pink. Now that would make it kind of more of a warm color. So I'm going to grab my blue and I'm going to add a little blue here. So don't think just because you're making color choices that it has to be solid. I love to blend colors. So here I'm going to go around, and first I like to just kind of roughly color it in. It gives it a nice line quality. And then I can go back and I can fine tune the details, go along the edges, fill it in a little bit more, make it a little bolder and brighter. I'm not really fond of making my colors too light. I like to apply a lot of pressure to get a darker shade of the color. So here you can see, I wasn't very careful on the top of my building there, but you know, we can always fix that. So my cool colors in the sky. So maybe it's a nighttime sky, and maybe you wanted to add a pop, and you go, well, it is a nighttime sky, but I want to make a yellow moon. Is that a problem? No, you can use the opposite color here. So if I said my sky is going to be all cool colors, but I want to have this sort of yellow moon, it's definitely going to work. So yellow can kind of go both ways, purple can go both ways. Lots of the colors can be used in the opposite color scheme. You can definitely experiment. You're an artist. It isn't about, well, oh my gosh, I made a mistake. I used red where it's supposed to be a warm color, a cool color. It's about creating contrast. So I'm going to just finish a little bit of it. If I just did this and stopped here, I'm not really creating that contrast, and it breaks up the rhythm of the concentric circles, and you really want to make sure you do every last one, which if I take the time to do it now, this is going to be a very long video. So I'm just going to give you an idea of where I would color. To me, this is not really adding complete color, but it's just reminding me of where I want to go. So you can first go in and just pick your color choices. Just don't forget when you put them back. So you remember which color you used. And so I would go all the way down, purple, and very carefully working around the buildings. All right, around the buildings. Now, one other way, if I didn't want to use it all in crayon, I can definitely use a combination technique of, if I had watercolors, I could paint over the crayon lines and I could fill those spaces. So if I'm the type of person who wants to be done quickly, but still artistically, I can actually just use the watercolor on top of it. Let me add another blue, and you see it's so easy to want to stop before you're actually done, and you can choose whether you do your buildings first or your background. I chose my background first. So I'm going to quickly take out my watercolors because I'm going to show you what I'm going to do here. I'm going to take some purple, come on there, and I could paint on top of it. It doesn't really show as much there. Let's see if I used a little of this kind of color on top of it. Yeah, that fills in nicely. And it works. It's kind of that magenta color. I could do that again here if I wanted to. Filling in. Now you might say, oh, you've moved into that warm color, Miss Maestri. It's okay because it's blending to create that kind of purpley color. And it works. And I could always go back and add more blue if I wanted to. Blend it, blend it, blend it. I like the way they look all blended together. Same here, put a little blue on top of the purple. Helps to fill in all those white gaps. If you're not a fan of them, I personally am not a fan of them. But you know, you have to make your own artistic decisions. Carefully around there. Carefully around there, there. Blend it out. I'm going to mix it up over here. And that kind of is a quick, easy way to fill in your spaces to make them really pop out a little more. I'm not always encouraging you to hurry, but I much prefer seeing you actually finish your piece than to leave a lot of white space. So there we go. Let me just add a little more color here. Boop. I'm going to finish that up. There's one. Might move back to purple for a second. Fill it in. And I don't know how to speed up my video, so you may have to watch me do the whole thing. Okay. But whatever you do, don't just stop and quit because it's work. That's part of art, is being able to be dedicated to it. So same thing for inside the building. I could actually, I'll start with my orangey, which because my brush is dirty, it's gonna look a little muddy. That's okay. And by making those blocks of color, you're gonna make it a little easier to work quickly. If you make it with windows, you probably are gonna wanna take time to make it different on the inside and the outside. One of the quicker ways to get moving is to do more than one space at a time. So you'll notice what I did is I went around and I filled a couple of spaces at once versus cleaning my brush a couple of times. And I'm going to keep going, filling in all my spaces, and I'll take a picture of my finished piece so you can see my light against my dark, of warm against cool. Oh, too quickly, it blended. All right, so keep an eye out. You can also go in and add patterning if you feel inspired to. I, of course, love the idea at the end of taking a marker and making my outline really bold. You may not feel the same way as me, and that is okay. I just like the way a really bold line looks against all of that color. That is me. You could even just do the top of the skyline if you prefer. All up to you. So keep an eye out for my finished piece. Okay? All right, guys. Good luck. Have fun.